David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service, 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the Correctional Facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety.
For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service, 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the Correctional Facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety.
For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragog, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Mark Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the Correctional Facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety.
For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragog, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Mark Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the correctional facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety.
For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragog, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the correctional facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety.
For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the Correctional Facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
I hereby call to order the Santa Fe County Planning Commission meeting on Thursday, August 17th, 2023. Welcome all of you. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. Sorry for the delay there. Can we get a roll call, please, Karen? Here. 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 Thank you, Karen. Okay. Jose, do we have any, approval of agenda, do we have any amendments or table withdrawn items?
Mr. Chair, there are no amendments tabled or withdrawn items.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
You got a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes of July 20th, 2023. Do we have any discussion or comments on the minutes? No? Do we have a motion?
I move.
Okay, JJ, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of the minutes on for July 20th, 2023, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. Okay, let's go to new business. Case number 23-5480, Javier Flores variance. And I believe Jessica is the case manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jessica Gonzalez, Building and Development Review Specialist with the Growth Management Division. Javier Flores, applicant, Rick Chattroop, agent, request approval of a variance to allow a residence and garage to encroach on the required 50-foot setback. The property lies within the residential estate zoning district within the La Cienega and La Cienega Community District overlay, where the required setbacks are 25 feet from the property boundary and 50 feet from the sides and rear property boundary. The property is located at 4 Reese Court within Township 16 North, Range 8 East, Section 27, Commission District 3, SDA 2. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow residence and garage to encroach on the required 50-foot setback. The property lies within the residential estate zoning district within the La Cienega and La Cienega Community District overlay, where the required setbacks are 25 feet from the front property boundary and 50 feet from the sides and rear property boundary. The applicant is requesting approval to allow the proposed dwelling unit to be placed 10 feet from the eastern property line and the proposed garage to be placed 15 feet from the southern property line. The reason for this request is that the applicant wants to save costs by disturbing the existing asphalt driveway to the least extent possible. The SLDC allows the La Cienega and La Cienega overlay setbacks to be reduced to the standards set forth in Section 7.3, 10 feet from the front and 25 feet from sides and rear of the property. The site can accommodate both setbacks. However, the 25-foot setback from sides and rear is a reasonable option for the applicant. Upon review of the site, it has been discovered that there are extensive poultry houses that have been constructed without permits within the setback. This use is prohibited in this zoning district. The applicant has stated that all structures will be removed. This is conditioned to be removed prior to any construction permit being used for the proposed house or garage. The applicant has addressed the variance criteria and staff has responded to the applicant's comments. Building and Development Services staff has conducted a site inspection on this property. During the inspection, it was revealed that the proposed structure can meet the setback requirements. Staff recommends denial of the variance request to allow the proposed dwelling to be placed 10 feet from the eastern property line and the proposed garage to be placed 15 feet from the southern property line and 25 feet, give or take, from the western property line. The applicant's request for a variance does not meet the standards set forth in Section 9.8 or Section 7.3. The SLDC allows the La Cienega and La Cienega overlay setbacks to be reduced to the standards set forth in Section 7.3, 10 feet from the front and 25 feet from sides and rear of the property. The site can accommodate both setbacks. However, the 25-foot setbacks from the sides and rear is a reasonable option for the applicant. On July 13th, 2023, this request was presented to the Sustainable Land Development Hearing Officer. The hearing officer memorialized findings of fact and conclusions of law in a recommended order on this request. The hearing officer, based on the evidence presented, recommended approval to allow a 25-foot setback for the rear and sides of the property as per SLDC Section 7.3 with staff recommended conditions. The written order and the minutes of the July 13, 2023 hearing are attached as Exhibits 11 and 12. If the Planning Commission recommends approval of the requested variance or allows the setbacks set forth in Section 7.3, staff recommends the following conditions. This report and exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record.
Okay. Does the Commission have any questions of staff? Okay, guess not. Jose?
Mr. Chair, staff would like to enter those conditions into the record also. And there is some updated photos. It's one of the conditions reads, condition number 3 says all poultry structures and other unpermitted development on the property shall be completely removed prior to issuance of a development permit for the house and or garage. So I believe Exhibit 13, the photos illustrate that the chicken coops and any unpermitted development has been removed from the site.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, okay, Wendy?
It's mentioned that the driveway is asphalt. Is it asphalt or is it gravel?
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
Commissioner, it is not asphalt.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rick, are you going to speak for these people? All right, please come forward. And get yourself sworn in.
All right.
And get a haircut.
I do. Richard Chatroop, 110 Wagon Trail Road, Cerrillos, New Mexico.
Proceed.
All right, thank you.
I was at the TAC meeting. I understand the conditions recommended by the hearing officer, but my client also wanted me to bring up the fact that the original lot was created probably in the 1990s. In 2014, I took a job from the client to do a small lot family transfer, which was allowed prior to the SDLC being adopted. And we split that lot into two pieces, two 1.25 acre pieces. The existing house, when he placed the house on his lot, the client understood that he was going to be able to split it later, so he placed the lot to allow for a second contiguous lot without an unusual shape or design. Okay? Then the client has went ahead and done basically almost a park-like area, if you see by the pictures, with a roundabout driveway, which was not asphalt. That was my mistake in the letter. It is a base coursed and compacted roadway. And then he also has constructed, even a ways back, there was a 6-foot masonry wall around the whole entire property. And you can see the pictures. It's a very elaborate enclosure for the compound. And the east side, where we're proposing to put the new residence, also has a whole series of basically 20 to 25 foot tall trees inside the masonry wall. Okay? And in reviewing the sections of the code, there you can ask for, the standard variance was 25. When he designed the house and we went for the lot split, the side setback was 5 feet, not 50. So it was expanded 10 times with the SDLC. Then they've allowed us to go back to 25, which is the standard now for the county. But at the time, the standard was 5 foot. So his design was not taking into consideration a potential 50-foot setback on every lot from every side. So what that has done is now we're going to be crunching the house into the kind of the park driveway area. And what we mainly would like to have is 10 feet with the additional trees, the wall, the 10 feet, all the improvements he's done. He would really like to request a 10-foot variance along the sides and in place of the 25. And like I said, in the code, you can read the variance criteria, not the variance criteria, I have it here in there. But the statement in the code is that if you use landscaping or trees in a small wall, you can ask for a variance to the setbacks. It'll help you apply a variance to the setback. Well, this is a 6-foot wall and 25-foot trees along the whole property line. So, granted, you may be able to see the house when it's constructed, depending on the time of year and the leaf cover, but it was designed to be able to put the house where he has it designed, and that's about the most I can say for it right now. We're just trying to go along, and at the time of the design, 5-foot setbacks was the basic consideration, not 50. So I'm afraid the SDLC has done a lot of this. I'm a surveyor in Santa Fe County, and I see this all the time where people are complaining because 20 years ago, I did a survey where I put a 2,500 square foot building envelope on a 40-acre lot. And now they go in for a permit and they're told they have to build within that 2,500 square feet because that's what's stated on the plat. But when the plat was done like this, the code was different, and I was only showing a requirement of a buildable area was allowed on every lot to get approval. It wasn't to take the whole 40-acre lot and design every possible building structure that could go on there. So the SLDC has kind of pushed this to where a lot of designs are very awkward to put onto lots that were designed prior to these giant setbacks and new code requirements. So that's basically my statement here. And
Rick, so what is that surface? It's not asphalt. Is that base course?
It's base course. It's just a driveway. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's an all-weather surface. He's done base coursing and everything.
All right.
So you can see by the landscaping, he's put a lot of money into that lot. That's not a standard lot over there in La Cienega.
Okay. Is there any questions of the applicant? Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering, on this lot, immediately to the west, also inside this compound wall, is another residence.
Yes.
Right? So there are two residences
Yeah, it was a family transfer land division.
inside the same wall. So there's
Yes.
no wall dividing them.
No,
Okay.
not dividing them, and they don't need to because it's family.
And do you recall the overall width of this lot? I can't see it easily.
I think they're about 170. I've got it here on the map somewhere. Each
Exhibit,
lot is about 160, 170 maybe. Let me pull it up here. Hang on just a second.
Mr. Chair, Exhibit 2 will illustrate the width on the lots.
The new lot is 176.
Thank you.
So if you apply a 50-foot setback to either side, we're down to 76 feet in the very middle of the lot.
Isn't there a 25-foot setback from the sides? Isn't that
No,
what's required?
that's what we're asking for the setback to be reduced. That's what the hearing officer recommended was 25. Right now, it's 50.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's 50 on both sides and the rear, and 25 in the front. So that takes a 1 1/4 acre lot down to nothing.
Okay, any other questions? JJ, you got any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair. You know, I was going to ask you, has everything been cleared off of that lot? I mean, I saw some pictures that had a lot of small buildings there. I guess they were chicken coops or something or whatever.
Those have been removed, I believe. Yep, that was done weeks ago because they wouldn't let us go forward to the TAC meeting until we started to show that we were removing.
And what is on that lot right now? Is it just a clean lot or what is it? What's on there, except the landscaping? You have landscaping and stuff that I saw.
It's pretty much a cleared off lot. It's just cleared off. The one house and the garage in the front, or the guest house on the other lot, not on this lot.
Now, are chicken coops allowed in that area?
I don't believe so. I don't know.
I saw in the thing that they were not in compliance with whatever was zoned for that area.
We'll let Jessica handle that.
Chair, Commissioner, they are not allowed in that zoning district. That is not a use that is allowed.
Okay, and they're not going to come back?
No.
For sure?
Well, I heard he won't get his permit if they come back.
Okay. You know, and then they have a shared well?
You have a shared well, correct? Yes.
Now, are they connected to that well yet or not yet? They have a well agreement?
It's a family, yeah.
Well, you have to have a well agreement, family and family, but you know, sometimes
I believe
family.
when I did the survey, they required me to put a well agreement on.
And then will they get an EID permit for a second septic system or a shared?
It'll have to be fully permitted, yes.
Okay. I think those are all the questions I have.
Thank you, JJ. Rick, I noticed that for your on one of the plans you're showing your retention pond, your stormwater pond, and it looked to me like there could be a conflict or a possible conflict with your leach field in that vicinity. I see the septic tank, but I was kind of wondering where your leach field's going to be.
Okay, cistern, that I don't know. Do we have a plan for the leach field, Danny? But I usually deal with these things after everything's built. Or designing the lots, not so much the house and stuff. That's not my area.
So he'll find a place for it that complies with the law, with the code.
We'll find a location that will comply with the code for the septic. Yeah.
Okay, you could take care of that at the time of building permit, just as long as staff's aware of it.
And that's just a concept for the, the collection area. It can be moved,
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for the applicant. If you were to, or what makes it unfeasible to comply with the 25-foot setbacks that the hearing officer?
It just disturbs more of the existing park-like area they've developed and the roadway they've developed. The difference, we have to shift the house farther to the south. It just pushes everything a little more clustered to the corner. Where if you had the 10 feet, you could stay a little closer toward the middle of the lot, and not be hugging one end or the other.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rhea. Anybody else? Okay, this is a public hearing. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
This is a
Thank you
public
all.
hearing. Huh? Your question? Oh, hey, Rick, we have one more question.
So the notice of this request went out to the neighbors, but I do not see any response or comments from any of the neighbors. I saw a
They
blank,
didn't show up at the ENN meeting or anything, nobody.
blank sign-up sheet. Okay.
Yeah, I have a sign-up sheet with 3 of us, me, the owner, and his neighbor that's his friend.
Got it, and you all supported it. Okay.
Yeah, they've been noticed twice now, for the ENN and for the meetings at the TAC and here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna open this up for open up to the public. This is a public hearing. Gonna open up to the public. Do we have anybody out there that wants to speak in favor or against this project, or is there anybody online out there?
Mr. Chair, there's no one on WebEx wishing to speak.
Please swear yourself in with Karen.
I do. My name is Danny Marmion, and I live at 15 Paraíso de Vaquero.
Please
Mr. Chair,
proceed.
Board, I've lived in the neighborhood I've owned property and lived there for over a 30-year period. And Mr. Flores has asked me for some assistance, and that's when I hooked him up with Rick on the lot split and stuff like that. But basically, it's just a big old square lot with a patio wall. None of the neighbors have ever attended any of the meetings, and I've been there in favor of it. Nobody has a problem. All the utilities are already existing. That's an old part of the Cienega Upper subdivision or racetrack. The issue with the chicken coops, it was our understanding that they were allowed to have the chicken coops, but Mr. Flores had sold a couple of chickens, and the county looked at it as it might be possibly a business, and we shut it all down, cleaned it all off. He's out of the chicken business for a while, or for as long as we want to stay legal, you know. But the property's clean, and that driveway, it looks more like millings than paving, because you can't afford the asphalt. But the millings is the same thing once it's rolled. You know, we don't want to lose that and disturb that. The big issue is on the curbing. He's got real nice brick curbing along the driveway. So, I mean, he's really put a lot of time and effort, and we hate to lose what we have. That's why we're really asking for an additional 10 feet, like Rick said. But it's a very, very clean property, and, you know, everything's done in the neighborhood already, so there's not additional utilities or anything that are going to create an issue. And the 7.5 foot side yard and front yard setback always took care of that, which we'll always maintain that. So again, I'm in favor of it, and if you got any questions?
I think we're all fine. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Anybody else want to come up to speak in favor or against this project? Okay, I'm going to close this public hearing. And what's the pleasure of commission? Any discussion, motions? Talk to me. Anybody?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to review the hearing officer's recommendation. Correct me if I'm wrong, the hearing officer recommended denial of the request, but if the Planning Commission were to approve the request, that there be setbacks of 25 feet would be the kind of the minimum setback from both both sides and the rear of the lot, as well as structures have been cleared. And I see at the bottom of the report, it looks like the structures have been cleared. The coops are just, you can just see the remainder of chicken coops, just what's left over when you get rid of a chicken coop. When I look at exhibit number 5, which is in the exhibits document, and I try and scale off 25 feet from that's on page 25 of 61 on the exhibits document, and I try and scale off just by eye, it appears that a structure could fit staying 25 feet away from all 3 lot lines without interfering with either the drive or any of the trees that I can see on this lot. So I understand the interest of not losing things you put in the ground and put water on for a long time, but I just do not see that having a structure kind of not tucked in the corner, but instead just to the west of the driveway would not disturb the plantings. That's just what I'm seeing when I look at this exhibit. And I'd love to be corrected by Jessica or anybody else if you're familiar with the parcel or the applicant. I just can't reconcile putting the house 25 feet away from one of the lot lines would either destroy the drive or destroy the trees that are in the circle of the drive.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, from what I've seen on the aerial photos, it would not. It would not.
Right. And perhaps if the surveyor or if the surveyor could come up and help us understand the scale of the proposed dwelling relative to this aerial. And I'm not sure if you have access to the report.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but when I look at what looks like the prior chicken coop setup, that seems to me bigger than any house would be.
What is this? Which exhibit is this?
This is exhibit.
We have an exhibit with the site plan, with the house at scale, with the driveway shown.
Great, okay.
But that's shown at 10 feet, not at 25.
Okay.
And that's right, it's a tight fit. Even at 10 feet, it's right up against the driveway.
Okay. And I'm just looking for that particular dock.
Let me find out what the number is.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Garage, okay.
Let me see your report because they took a page out of my report.
I know, they got it somewhere.
I know they keep.
It's
2.
Yeah, exhibit 2 on page
exhibit 2.
61. Got it.
Yeah, that's the house at scale on the site with the existing conditions shown. And a 10-foot side setback. And you can see the corners of the northwest corners of the house are already up on the edge of the driveway.
Yeah, if I were faced with this challenge.
Excuse me, Jose, I have a question. That 25-foot setback that the hearing officer is proposing, isn't that what the minimum calls on the code that for variance that we can approve? Isn't there some criteria about that?
10 feet from the, Mr. Chair, 10 feet from the front of the property, 25 feet from the sides and the rear is a standard setback for that zoning district.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, it's just
excuse me, that's where it comes in, that if you put in a fence or trees, you can adjust that existing standard setback. You can reduce that. It's allowed in the code. I have it. I can dig it up. I put it away. But there's an issue. There's a statement in the code saying that if you're willing to do landscaping and tree and wall and fences, you can reduce your setback. I'll have to look and see what the exact.
Mr. Chair, if you give us just a moment, Jose will check on that in the code.
7.3.3.8. It says, right, I'll read it to you. Notwithstanding other provisions to the contrary, the following exceptions to setback requirements shall apply, provided that a 10-foot distance between structures is maintained. Fences and walls, chimneys, ornamental, it says exceptions to the setback requirements. The reduction in setbacks is 7.3.3.9. May be reduced as described below the use of landscaping.
So that's a maybe. So that's what you're requesting. You're requesting that this provision be applied in this case.
Yes, because
Thank
we've
you.
used a lot of landscaping and a giant wall, and not just shrubs. We're talking 25-foot tall trees.
So I don't remember in the packet, was there a picture of the landscaping, the trees, and anything, that stuff?
Yeah, there's a picture of the trees. I took that photo myself, so.
Will any of the trees need to be removed if it's 10 feet from the wall?
Yeah, you'll lose a lot.
No,
along
the trees are
fence line.
fine. They're up against the wall. They're just inside the wall.
But you've got 10 feet. I mean, it seems like you're kind of squishing everything in there.
Mr. Chair, this appears to be too much house for this lot.
Yeah, that's,
Right, got it.
And those trees are right within a foot or two of the edge of the wall.
Or 4, yeah.
And there's, what is there? Probably 20 of them.
You want to show these guys?
I mean, some of my other photos, you can see along the front of the lot where he has the more ornamental wall with the same kind of tree coverage, where it's more mature. You're not going to see anything past that wall and trees when they're matured. You know, you're not going to have a view of the house of much of anything.
Mr. Chair, to be kicked into section 7.3 under table 9.-8-7, and these are the setbacks for a residential estate within La Cienega overlay. It states, in cases where setback requirements would prohibit development of a lot, the administrator may approve setback requirements in accordance with section 7.3 of the SLDC. So,
So Jose, that's conditional. So that if the lot does not allow development, then those exceptions may be applied. Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, that's correct.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Jessica.
Mr. Chair,
JJ?
I had a question. Can I ask questions to the applicant?
Yes.
Did we close the public hearing yet, or
I did close it, didn't I?
Did you?
No, you didn't. I got in your way.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Eric, that's right. Eric. Yes, you can.
I want to ask you a question. You know, the thing is that, in that area, we're very concerned about water use. And one of the things is that when they apply for a county permit, they have to limit their water use to a 1/4 acre foot per household. And the thing, yes, but what kind of trees are planted there now? Are they cottonwoods, or are they trees that don't use a lot of water? You know, that's some of, but they look like deciduous trees, and they use a lot of water. And in the wintertime, all the leaves fall off, so there isn't any screening.
I'll let the more experts on that question.
Well, no, I want to ask you.
I'm not a tree expert.
So the applicant, what he's saying, told me is that he hauls water in. And if we need not to have any additional trees other than native trees, he's willing to comply with that. But I mean, he's already agreed to the 0.25 acre feet period.
Yes, that's correct. But, you know, we're using water to water trees for screening an area. You know, that just doesn't sound right. You know, we've had cases come before here where they wanted to put a flagpole, then they wanted to plant trees around the flagpole and then water it. And when there's a lack of water, when there's water restrictions all over, you know, you just can't pour water on trees to do screening. I mean, that's the thing I'm opposed to.
Well,
I mean,
the applicant's willing to limit the watering his trees to be hauled in the non-potable, same water that we use for roads. He doesn't have an issue with that.
and also the applicant has an option. You know, the hearing officer gave him a very good option that they reduced the setbacks, 25 feet on the front, 25 feet on the sides and back, you know, so that is an option. It's not that he cannot develop his property the way, you know, develop his property, he just maybe cannot develop the property with the variances that he's asking. There is a way for him to develop that property with the hearing officer's recommendation, and that's kind of what I'm in favor of. The screening with trees, I'm not in favor of.
No, we don't want to lose the recommendation either, so we will comply with that.
We brought this up just as, you know, this is what his original goal was, that's what the original site plan was developed on, and then we ran into this 50-foot setback.
Yes.
And that kind of changed our plans here.
But everything the county has asked him to do, including knocking down all the chicken coops, he's complied with it. You know, he hasn't had any issues at all. He wants to be square.
Well, I think the applicant has a very good option that the hearing officer recommended, so.
So be it.
You know, he's not shut down, he's not denied, but he has an option. So, but thank you very much for your request.
That's pretty close to a motion there, JJ.
Yeah, but we're still in public hearing, aren't we?
Okay, I'm gonna, any more questions? The commission, okay. So I'm gonna close the public hearing. We're closed. Okay, do we have a motion?
Defer to Mr. Abo.
So, Mr. Chair, I propose that we move to approve a variance that's consistent with staff and the hearing officer's recommendations, that those being that existing structures be cleared before anything happen, that setbacks of no less than 25 feet from all four sides of the lot be maintained, and that plans are submitted and go through the normal development review process. And I think that's it, right, Jose? Is that sufficient?
Excuse me, there's three setbacks that are side and rear. They're different in one width than the front setback.
The front setback is currently 25. I don't think there's a request to put anything on the front of the property, is there?
In the future, you could develop a guest home on that. That would have to go to the front.
Okay, let's continue with what we're doing here.
Yeah, so that's my motion, that basically a 25-foot setback, all four sides, and property is cleared, and the plans are submitted to development review for compliance with all of their standards.
Okay, so to clarify it, we are denying the variance to 10 feet and going with the hearing officers of 25 feet, correct?
That's my motion.
Okay. So, okay, the motion's on the table. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Rick. Okay. Next case is case number 235090, Francis Phillip variance. And Jose is going to do this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jose Larrañaga, Building and Development Supervisor. Francis Phillips, applicant, requests approval of a density variance to allow 2 dwelling units on 6.54 acre on a 6.54 acre parcel. Currently, there is an existing 1,340 square foot residence, a 1,440 square foot residence on the site. The subject property lies within the rural residential zoning district, where the base density is 1 dwelling per 10 acres. The property is located at 35 Mescalero Trail, SDA 2, within Township 15 North, Range 10 East, Section 2, Commission District 4. On January 30th, 2023, the applicant presented a submittal application for a short-term rental registration to staff. The site plan and air photos illustrated a primary residence, a structure studio, a 2-car garage, and a second 2-story dwelling. Staff conducted a search on the county database to verify whether all structures on the property had been permitted with Santa Fe County. Staff determined that the primary residence, the studio, and the 2-car garage had been permitted with Santa Fe County. The studio is considered an accessory structure and has never permitted as a residence. Mr. Phillips has removed the kitchen and is now not using this structure as a separate dwelling. The second 2-story dwelling was permitted as a 2-car garage with a storage area on the second floor, on the second story. At some point in time prior to Mr. Phillips purchasing the property, the 2-story garage was converted into a 2-story dwelling unit. It is this 2-story converted garage that is the subject of the variance request by Mr. Phillips. As Mr. Phillips is requesting to use it as he had bought it as a dwelling. The applicant has stated that the property was purchased as is. The applicant has provided an appraisal report which describes the property and the structures on the site. The appraisal lists a dwelling with a bedroom and bath, a 522 square foot guest house referred above as a studio, and a detached 2-car garage with a 744 square foot studio apartment above the garage. Naturally, the applicant assumed that what was presented in the appraisal were permitted structures. The applicant states, "We bought the property believing these structures could be used as described in the appraisal report." The applicant assumed that the garage area below the studio apartment could be utilized as a living area and improve the area by moving the kitchen and laundry room from the second floor downstairs, replace the garage doors with French doors, and created a living room space. The applicant states that he did not get a permit as it was interior remodel. The property is zoned rural residential. The applicant is requesting a variance at table 8.8 dimensional standards, which illustrates the density within the rural residential as 1 dwelling per 10 acres. The studio was acknowledged on the recorded plat that created the 6.54 acre parcel. Staff has verified that permits were issued for the 1,340 square foot primary residence, the studio, the 2-car garage, and a 2-car garage with storage area on the second story. The applicant states, "I purchased the home in 2013 and made it into Airbnb rental. For 10 plus years with 5-star reviews, I've added value to the area as well as bringing significant revenue to Santa Fe County and city for more than a decade. The 3 existing structures were built and approved in 1991, 1995, and 2000. Had existing electric, plumbing, with 1 bedroom in each structure. I bought the home as a living space as sold to me as evidenced by the purchase appraisal. Apparently, the previous seller or owners did not obtain a permit for the 2-level structure as a living space. The applicant also states he lives in the converted 2-car garage, and he rents a primary dwelling and the accessory structure as 1 single short-term rental. The applicant has addressed the variance criteria as per SLDC sections 4.9.7.4, and staff has responded to the applicant's comments. Staff notes that the original legal notice given to the applicant was incorrect and caused confusion to the neighbors as to how many dwellings were being requested. The new notice was corrected and published by the applicant. Staff does acknowledge that the applicant bought the property based on the appraisal that listed a dwelling with a bedroom and a bath in a 522 square foot guest house and a detached two-car garage with a 744 square foot studio apartment above the garage, 3 dwellings and bedrooms and 3 bedrooms total, and that the applicant has removed the kitchen and what was identified as a guest house and is not using this as a separate dwelling unit. On July 13, 2023, this request was presented to the Sustainable Land Development Hearing Officer. The hearing officer memorialized findings of fact and conclusions of law in a recommended order on this request. The hearing officer, based on the evidence presented, recommended denial of the request to allow a variance of density to allow 2 dwelling units on a 6.54 acre parcel. The recommendation of the hearing officer is for denial of the request for a variance of Table 8.8 dimensional standards to allow 2 dwelling units on the 6.54 acre parcel. If the Planning Commission finds the variance criteria has been met and recommends approval of the variance, staff recommends the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall submit an application for a residential development permit for the remodel of the 1,440 square foot residence. Number 2, additional dwellings units on the 6.5 acre site will be prohibited. This report and the exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record. Mr. Chair, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Jose. Does the commission have any questions of Jose?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Did the applicant apply for a short-term rental permit, given the numerous, the history that they have with doing short-term rentals through Airbnb?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, yes, that's how we found out about the second dwelling.
And just to clarify, there's just been one permit granted, even though there's been multiple short-term rentals on the property?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, there's been the main dwelling, which is 1,340 square feet, that was permitted. The studio, we acknowledged that as being part of the property. Then there was a 2-car garage that the applicant permitted himself later on. But the 2-car garage with the storage on top, which was converted by the prior owners for an apartment on top, that one was permitted as a 2-car garage with storage on top, not as a residence.
Can you tell me if there's, in that area, have other residents applied for short-term rental permits?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I wish I could. We were getting a lot of those in, so I really don't keep track of where they're at.
Okay.
Any other questions? Eric? Go ahead.
Not at this time, thanks.
Jose, I have a question. Doesn't this Construction Industries Division require permits for interior remodeling?
Mr. Chair, I believe so. Again, as the applicant stated, the upstairs was already a 700-plus square foot apartment, so he just used the bottom where the garage was to just enhance the building or the structure.
I think there was something where there was a permit that was issued in 2019. Did they have to modify or clarify their utility authorization at that point in time, or not really? Would they have had to?
Mr. Chair, I know the applicants pulled those permits. I don't know if, and I probably have it in the file, I don't know if they had to have a new utility authorization, if they got issued one, or if they're sharing the same meter.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
AJ.
I've got a couple of questions. Jose, how many dwellings are on that piece of property now? I read there's 2 dwellings or 3 dwellings, or asking for 2 dwellings, and there's 3 bedrooms total. So how many dwellings are on the property right now?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, there are 2 dwellings. The 1,300 square foot dwelling has 1 bedroom. The studio is used as a bedroom, not a dwelling, for the main dwelling of 1,300 square feet. That's the short-term rental part of it. And the other dwelling is the one that was converted from a garage to a dwelling.
So there was 3 possible dwellings at one time, or?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, the applicant has pulled, which was there when he purchased it, a kitchen or kitchenette out of the studio. So that's just considered an accessory structure. It's not considered a dwelling.
Okay. Thank you, Jose.
So Jose, so at this point in time, two dwellings and 1 accessory structure, right?
Mr. Chair, yes, 2 dwellings and 1 accessory structure.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, any other questions, staff? Okay, the applicant, please come forward. Sure. Okay, you need to get yourself sworn in first.
Okay. I do. Francis Phillips, 35 Mescalero Trail, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87505.
Mr. Phillips, please proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am reading from exhibits that I had forwarded. Maybe I had 8 separate folders for everyone, and a 3-page cover sheet dated August 2nd, RE variance request to the Planning Commission commissioners is what I'm reading from. Thank you for your time and review for my request for variance for the 2013 purchase of 35 Mescalero Trail. When applying for an STVR permit in January, it was brought to my attention by the county that I had unknowingly bought a home in violation. I inherited a non-permitted 2-car garage conversion to a 1-bedroom home that was done years before I bought the home in 2013. That's why we're here today, as I'm asking for a variance for this particular structure. In 2013, I asked my realtor to help me find a home I could vacation rent with a large guest house so I could make my own home. I wanted to live in the guest house was my idea. As my job did not offer a pension nor retirement plan, I wanted to devote the next 10 years paying off this home while working so that I could live there for retirement and have vacation rental income to supplement my retirement. While viewing 35 Mescalero Trail in 2013, It was an existing compound. This is in 2013 when I viewed the property for consideration to buy. It was an existing compound with 3 separate one-bedroom homes built in 1991, 1995, and 2000. Each home had its own kitchen at the time I looked at the property. The main house, the studio, had been successfully rented years on Airbnb, VRBO as one dwelling, one vacation rental unit. Over the last 10 years, there's always been just one vacation rental, just one. The third structure, the one-bedroom home structure that was originally a 2-story garage that had, and this was the previous two-story garage that the previous owner or sellers years back had converted. When going inside, it was a one-bedroom home structure, and it had a bathroom, a kitchen, washer-dryer, living room, storage. And on the 2 floors, on the main floor, it was no longer a garage. The garage doors were deactivated, they were discontinued, and you entered the home on the side door is how you entered the home, through the compound. This structure, this would become my primary residence. This structure is the one the county advised was purchased in violation and as it apparently was never permitted by previous owners as a one-bedroom home. In my handout that I gave to you in the folder, it says, attached you will find a letter from my realtor who sold me the property, Amber Williams of Santa Fe Properties. This is a letter she provided for me about 2 weeks ago, and in that letter she writes, the Apache Ridge area, and I quote, the Apache Ridge area is one of many Santa Fe County locations that offers various short-term rental Airbnbs, which perfectly fit in what Francis wanted to do, as the neighborhood allowed short-term rentals. Overall, a one-bedroom home in each of the 3 existing structures is what we found. The former 2-car garage was a one-bedroom apartment as sold to me. The realtor continues, and I'll quote again, what was previously a 2-car garage was no longer used as a garage. So although the staff report is saying that there was on the first floor a garage, it was storage, there was a freezer there was a mudroom sink, and just a bunch of mess. But it was not used as a garage. This is noted within the description and floor plans of the 2013 purchase appraisal of the property for the sale. To be clear, I did not convert the garage to a one-bedroom home. Rather, I remodeled and upgraded the existing one-bedroom home that was there. And that has been my residence for the last 10 years. And it has never been rented. That's my home, always. Also, please find in the attached folder the 2013 purchase appraisal and the appraisal commenting this 2-car garage with the 744 square foot studio apartment above it, along with a diagram and pictures. I invested, after buying this home, almost $300,000 into this compound, upgrading the homes, the existing 3 baths, kitchens. Jose pointed out there was a kitchen on the 2nd floor, and you'll see pictures here shortly, and I relocated the kitchen downstairs where the mudroom sink was. I had asked the county, if you're pulling out a sink to put in a new sink, do you have to have a permit to do that, like when you're having Home Depot or Lowe's put in a new kitchen cabinet, kitchen island, etc.? And the answer is no, you do not need to have a permit. I did not draw permits for that reason because I was replacing a sink, replacing a toilet, and upgraded the home. With this $300,000 over the years, kitchens, interiors, flooring, stacked stone walls, paint, windows. The stacked stone walls were interior, paint, windows, privacy stucco walls, separating a division so that the main house with Airbnb guests was a separation wall from my privacy in my home on the side. Graveling went over the existing dirt driveway, so there was no changes of driveways. It was just not a changing of a routing of the driveway, but putting gravel on the existing dirt driveway. Exterior sconces, stacked stone entrance, brickwork, portals, rain barrels, and a $10,000 underground water capture cistern capturing rainwater for landscaping to protect mine and my community's well water supply. Being that Santa Fe, I've lived in Santa Fe for 23 years. I know it is a drought town. So the home that I have, relying on a well for the first time in my life, I've never used a well. I wanted to be sure I would never deplete my well. So the $10,000 cistern that I bought about 6 years ago captured rainwater from the roof and is only used for landscaping. During those very, very, very droughtful times when we went through months of no rain a few years ago, I never still tapped into the well water ever. I would go down to the Waterman around Baca Street town area, and I would buy 10 5-gallon water jugs. I probably had 3 axles or shocks replaced in carrying all that heavy water over the years, and personally poured water, and that's probably why, looking back, I'm having a hip replacement next week. But I only used and bought water for my landscaping, always have, and there was also the 3 rain barrels at the portal that was built out from my house. I did not get permits for upgrades, as my understanding when I spoke with Ms. Archuleta during this process, when I was like, what is this about the permits? I don't understand. I didn't think I had to have a permit. I spoke with her and asked her questions a few months ago and said, as I mentioned, if you pull out a kitchen, if you pull out a toilet, she said, no, you don't have to have a permit. That's exactly what I did. I did not have a permit when replacing sinks, baths, kitchens. I was not adding or changing existing units, just updating the items that were there as I purchased them. I remodeled and improved the existing 1-bedroom home that I bought. Just as Amber, the Santa Fe Properties realtor, and I witnessed in 2013, it was a 1-bedroom home inside this 2-story structure. 6 months later, in January of 2014, in 7 months there, I hired general contractor Dennis Niedermeyer to build a 2-car garage, as there was no garage on the property. Simply, there were 3 1-bedroom units attached, as I put in there, in the 2014 permit application that I applied with Santa Fe County for the 2-car garage. It asked for a site outlay, and in your file, you will see the structures that the general contractor wrote, showing an L, which was the main house, the accessory structure, which back then I called the second home, and then the third was mine. All were shown as dwellings. I've always disclosed, I've always been transparent. And in the 2014 application for the 2-car garage permit, it was in there, shown to the county as well. A density variance is requested for the 1-bedroom residence I've resided in the last 10 years and has only been used for my personal home. To undo the situation would be financially devastating for me. This is my home. I retired 2 years ago. I maintain the financial ability to live in this home through vacation rental revenue for my retirement. I'd like to hand out to you, as there's so much content and information and it gets confusing about these properties, I thought it'd be nice to just recap and try to keep it as simple as possible and recap. Thank you. This is in regards to the variance review criteria, where I have to answer the 3 questions where the request is not contrary to the public, exceptional extraordinary circumstances and burdens, and number 3, so that the spirit of the SLDC is observed and substantial justice is done. I've consolidated a lot of the topics that answer this question in request for my variance. Does everyone have an outline? Okay. So to start with number 1, The variance review criteria requires me to answer these three questions. Number one, where the request is not contrary to the public. A, Mescalero Road Covenants has no caps on dwellings, no caps on structures. In the exhibits that I have provided in my folder for you, there is a snippet from the Mescalero Covenants where it clearly shows that there's no cap on living dwellings, no cap on structures. B, Mescalero Road Covenants do not prohibit rental properties, including STVRs. This may be misunderstood by some residents thinking that STVRs are commercial. However, the State of New Mexico Appellate Court ruled STVRs are not commercial. STVRs are residential with home insurance, not commercial insurance. Again, the State Appellate Court of New Mexico has stated that STVRs are not commercial. In the folder I sent in before the meeting, this was taken from the Los Alamos Reporter, where that quote comes from. C, a majority of Mescalero homeowners have multiple structures. When I bought the home, as I scouted out, am I allowed to have vacation rentals before I buy this home? That was you don't want to buy a home and find out you can't have that. But then also seeing down the road, a beautiful, quiet, tranquil road and Mescalero Ridge around the corner. And it seemed like 90% of the homes all had multiple structures. Guest homes, casitas, garages, whatever are in those structures, I don't know, but it's very common to have seeing that everyone had multiple structures. D, at the end of May, and Jose was kind to include in his staff report, there regretfully was an incorrect variance announcement for the proposed first hearing. It was very confusing, and as I had read it, as a layman, it would maybe think, as you had just mentioned too, do you have 3 properties, 4, 5? What's going on here? And it showed that there were 3 structures existing and that I was asking for a variance on 2 properties, where it led people to believe that there were 3, but he was wanting 5 residences. And I read it to 4 or 5 of my well-educated, scholarly friends, asking them, is it just me or what do you, and they said, yeah, it's very confusing. It looks like he's getting 3 or 5 properties. I don't know. I went to the county and said, this is very confusing. This will create a lot of havoc, a lot of confusion with the neighbors when this is released. Can you please kindly change it? I was told no, they would not change it. As a result, when this was released at the end of May, havoc did happen. The president of the Apache Ridge Road Owners Association, I live on Mescalero Trail. Apache Ridge, I believe, I don't know if it's 3 to 5 miles. I've never traveled it all the way to the end. The Apache Ridge president of the Road Owners Association sent out an email blitz to the Apache Ridge, and I didn't know about this because of one of the complaints that came in. Below her email was the president's email. So I started to see, oh, okay. I'm like, why is this happening? And I'm going crazy. This president of the Road Owners Association, and it's documented in the exhibits that are in there from the file, had alleged that, and confusingly, because of the variance in how it read, that I had 3 properties and I was asking for 2 more for a total of 5 residences. He had said that I don't live there, which was false. He had said that I am renting my home, the one that I live in, which was false. He said that it was a motel that I'm running, which is false. And he said that it was a commercial property, which is false. So several complaints came in, which you've seen in your folders and read. And I believe wholeheartedly till the day I die, this would not have been that crazy if the variance report had been written a little bit more clearly for the layman to understand. I'd like to refer to Nanette Fairley's, and her complaint was NBB number 25 in your package. And Ms. Fairley, who I had saw that the Apache Ridge owner president mass email urging people to write in and protest and contest, and this is important for our roads, et cetera, and water. Ms. Fairley wrote on July 1st in the NBB 25 email, "Dear Mr. Laranaga, I have lived on Apache Ridge since 1995 and am in opposition to Francis Phillips' request for variance to allow 3 dwellings on his property. Most of the homes as primary dwelling residents, the applicant Francis Phillips is a developer of short-term rentals and does not live on the property. He currently has an existing structure, 2-car garage, which has been converted to a rental without permission of a dwelling unit. Now he wants to add 3 more short-term rental dwelling units on the 6-acre property. These are the reasons I am opposed. First and foremost is water. We are not connected to the county water, but have well systems. The other issue is roads, where only half of the residents of Apache Ridge pay the 300 road dues annual, only half. Our road is bad enough, but having short-term rentals would increase the problem. I have approximately 7 acres and know the density was set for water, septic, and land usage for 1 residence dwelling. In final comment, I have spoken with a few neighbors who are opposed to having a commercial ventures on our road with these short-term rentals. After the hearing and seeing these complaints come in, I decided I needed to get everything clear and straightened out because there was so much misinformation being broadcast. So after the hearing that Sunday, I typed or prepared a 7-page letter and went back to those exhibits and addressed the people that sent a complaint. Very delicately, very kindly, a pleasant Sunday to you, the 7-day letter, explaining and opening my life, my book, no different than how I'm doing here, and explaining that there's been a terrible misunderstanding, and then also addressing many of the same topics we're talking about today. Ms. Fairley, who wrote one of these complaints, circled back very kindly and said, "Oh, well, tell me more. I'd like to know more about your property. I'd like to see the VRBO. Tell me more." So I have opened my life where I had a very quiet existence for 10 years and am now having to plead to my neighbors what I've done quietly for 10 years in my peaceful life, and very calmly and quietly with no interruption to the world. Ms. Fairley and I spoke. It was a very good interaction, and after her and me speaking and clearly explaining what all this happened, she retracted her complaint. She wrote, on July 21st, Mr. Laranaga, I have been in touch with Mr. Phillips in regard to his application for approval. He sent me clarification on his rental as the notice seemed to imply he was adding new structures. He gave me his rental VRBO site. I understand now that he has inherited the issue of needing approval on a prior owner's remodel. If this is the case, then I withdraw my objections to his request. I continue with another gentleman by the name of Mr. Oram, who also sent a complaint, and as I responded back to him, he apologized after hearing all of the information. And he said, "Mea culpa, I'm very sorry." And he writes, "I think everyone will appreciate your full clarification of the issues at hand regarding your permit request. I think development of any kind freaks people." So I'll go back to the outline. And we were at E. Francis has always 100% supported the Mescalero Road Fund for 10 years. Tim Osborne, who is the treasurer, also did not send in a complaint, but I sent him an email explaining what happened just to make sure the neighbors knew and understood. He wrote, "I'm so sorry for what you've been through. You have also been very prompt and paid your share of the road upkeep without posing any questions and also without participating in the discussions and decisions, which all makes my task easier as the informal treasurer. I wish everyone was as easy with supporting our road improvement initiatives." Mr. Osborne reconfirms that I've always, when Mescalero Road Fund has reached out to us on Mescalero for money for our road, I've always contributed, and usually contributed more, 100% of the time. Not everyone, as Mr. Osborne told me, has contributed to Mescalero as well. As for Apache Ridge Road Fund, I never knew about a road fund until this hearing, until the complaints. I always thought, driving down it and seeing this tractor, I didn't know how they got that happen. I don't know, but I traveled down Apache Road to get to Mescalero, and I even thought over the years, God, it seems like we should contribute to that, but I didn't know what it was or whatever, and if they even had a fund. I didn't know because when at Mescalero, in our road problems, I reached out to the county and called and asked, hey, we got mud, we got this, I'm a county resident, what can we do to have road service here? And they said, sir, you have to get a petition and get 300 people to sign it. And I think Mescalero has 10 or 12. So I just threw my hands up, and so I thought driving down Apache Ridge, maybe they did it, and they did an initiative. I don't know. So no, I've never contributed to Apache Ridge because I never knew they had a road fund until this. But as it was pointed out in my dialogue back and forth with those that had complained on Apache Ridge, not my street, I have voluntarily written a check for $300 last month for their annual dues, and finding out that only half of those residents even pay. So I pay for 2 roads, not 1. I am a good citizen, and I've always paid, is my point, to help the road. F, not abusive to the road. 3 months average has presented, I'm referring to my vacation rental, and it's only averaged 1.04 cars per night average in the high season. Just 1.04 cars per night. I've read the complaints where they're like, all these cars, all this traffic, all this commercial business. I took the statistics from high season from June 15 to September 15 during Indian market, Spanish market, folk market, and summer vacations. Only 1.04 cars. G, vacation guests have always been told in advance to use all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive vehicles, as we are a ski town and have snow. Every now and then you'll get a guest coming in thinking that we're Scottsdale. Where are the pools? It's 100 degrees. They don't even know we have snow, don't even know we have skiing. So I have found it necessary in my check-in instructions that I've had for 10 years in your packages, where I asterisked Santa Fe is a ski town in winter, a four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, 4x4 is a must. City round. Water, we are in the high desert. So be kind for the use of water, as we only use well water. Quick showers are recommended and not baths. And then trash. Please keep plastics together. Please keep glass together. Please wrap trash tight and leave in the trash bin outside of the kitchen window, with instructions there, and my housekeeper picks it up every time when she cleans after an Airbnb rental, as well as my trash. H, not abusive to water usage. STVR guests are asked to take short showers. I just did that. I, 3-month average for the number of guests per night during the highest season was 2.57 guests. This is not a motel. This is not Party Central. Usually the profile of our vacation renters are higher net worth. They're mature couples, families that come to see beautiful Santa Fe. They hardly even use the home nor the water because they go out and tour all day the topography of New Mexico, and then they come home at night to sleep. In your recap here on the 3rd page, if I could direct you on the outline that we're referring to here, on the 3rd page is where the statistics are, where I felt so many people are assuming, based on no evidence they have, that I have an abundance of traffic coming in and out of my home, which is totally false. So I went back to the actual reservations, as you see, June 14 to June 18, and for the June 15 to July 13 period, you see the averages. Same for July to August, and then August to September. Overall, again, during the highest season, when you would expect to see the most traffic, the averages were 2.57 guests per night average, 1.04 cars per day in the highest season. The home averages are less than a family of 3 with 1 car. So I'm being very kind to the neighborhood. I'm being very kind to the road. I'm being very kind to the water and being very proactive in asking the guests to be proactive, even where we have signs on the toilet and they say, reminding that Santa Fe is a drought town. This is where these statistics came from that I'm referencing here. And overall, these averages would be even much lower year-round as you figure in low season, which I have not done. I used the worst case. So when you figure in the rest of the year, I expect it would probably be less than a family of 2 that are staying there. J, $10,000 underground water capture system. We've talked about that, and those have been an example of me conserving water. In your packages is a testimonial from my landscaper of 10 years, Sabiani, and he's talked about watering the property has been a main concern for both Mr. Phillips and me, and we are conscious of the water drought that Santa Fe community suffers from. To limit the amount of water that we use his 3 water capture barrels. That's over at my house at the Portal. And also the invested over $10,000 in the water cistern. He's witnessed that primary residence has always been, as we regularly meet to discuss new projects for the property and how to keep it and maintain it. And he talks about how wonderful we kept and clean the property clean and maintained year round. K, approximately, and Sabiani put in his testimonial, approximately 150 juniper and pinon trees were removed for fire, forestry, safety, and aesthetic. When I bought the home, it was like a jungle, just a jungle of trees. So over the years, I asked them to start taking out these trees. About 150 of them were pulled out. Finally, L, where the request is not contrary to the public, L, this has been a quiet, peaceful oasis home with no homes in view from the property. Number 2, I'm asked to answer where due to extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions of the property, the strict application of the code would result in peculiar and exceptional practice difficulties or exceptional and undue hardship to the owner. Francis unknowingly, A, inherited a 2-story garage non-permitted conversion to a 1-bedroom home by the seller or previous owners. I inherited this non-permitted situation. B, Francis and his realtor viewed in 2013, again, the 3 properties. They were 1-bedroom homes, and she clearly writes, the 2-story car garage, which was not in use as a garage when we viewed it and bought the home. This is in the realtor exhibit that I sent in and Amber's comments in the package that I sent in. Her comments, I've taken straight from her email. I wanted this here because it's like, who else was there in 2013? Me and the realtor who saw this. C, what I bought 10 years ago, 3 1-bedroom homes, would be no more with the density being declined. I would have been cheated and overpaid for the 2013 purchase and even more expense to undo what I unknowingly inherited. B, I gave full disclosure of the 3 living structures in the 2014 application I made for a new 2-car garage permit. In the site outlay, if I can back up in that last paragraph, this is the appraisal that is in your package that shows the description of what the appraiser wrote and the diagram showing you the structures. It shows a picture of the front of the house, which were the defunct, deactivated garage doors, and the entrance was on the side door. It shows you a kitchen that nobody would ever want to use, but it's there. And that's why I think it just makes more sense to have a kitchen on the main floor. It shows the bathroom. It shows the garage downstairs that's not used as a garage. Amber said it, and I said it, and this picture said it. That bottom floor is not a garage. Although there were garage doors there, They were deactivated and they were never taken out by the previous owners or whoever did this. You went through the side door, and this was the third one-bedroom home of the compound. You even see in there of this mess of boxes, chairs, even a freezer in the back, or a refrigerator, I don't know which. Also notice in the ceiling, I wrote an arrow, existing plumbing. You can see all of that was existing plumbing in 2013. I did not convert this home. It has already been converted. And there's the plumbing to prove it, and there's the first floor of the garage to prove that it's not a two-car garage anymore. This is from the purchase appraisal in 2013 in your documentation. Going back to letter D, that I gave full disclosure in the 2014 application for a two-car garage, it asked for a site outlay in the application. And here is that site outlay taken from that 2014 application. Although I didn't sign this and I didn't fill it, the general contractor filled it out. But thank God and thankfully, he shows 3 living structures, all shown to the county in 2014, January, 7 months later, after I had purchased the home, exactly how it was. My question is, if in 2014, Santa Fe County walked by this structure, this is in 2014, I did a refinancing with New Mexico Bank, with Del Norte Credit Union to get a HELOC to pay me back for all of this capital outlay. And here is a picture in early 2014 of the French doors, the brick, the courtyard, and privacy walls. So a 2014 Santa Fe County inspector for the garage that's being built, to be built with approval, he's walking right by this. He's walking right by the structures. So with code enforcement, why would he not say, hey, you've got too many living structures here, that's not allowed? I didn't know that. So I asked, why didn't he point this out, walking right by it? I read in letter D, I gave the full disclosure as I stated. At the time of purchase in 2013, no one had mentioned that there was a Santa Fe statute that you cannot have 2 dwellings on less than 10 acres. I didn't know. And the realtor, my best friend realtor, buying agent did not. The listing agent did not. Santa Fe Properties did not. Southwest Title and Escrow did not. The covenants did not. Mescalero covenants, which I viewed, did not. And the 2014 Santa Fe County inspector, to give me the permit for the 2-car garage, did not. I never even knew until last year when I was considering buying the land next door to me and thinking, I really have enjoyed doing vacation renting, and I was considering doing a 2-unit next door to me, and did not even last year, did not. I didn't want to make any big dealings with these because as a lender in Santa Fe for 20 years, the last thing I want to do is go back to my best friends, the title company, everyone that I've done business with, and raise any havoc with them. They were so good to me over the years. So I point out, none of us knew. He cannot simply undo these structures. The attached portal, stucco privacy walls, enclosed back courtyard, a back fenced-in deck outside connected to the home, all of these are connected to the home. In your package that I sent are pictures of the outside. You can see it's a different home. And it was constructed, what was inside, now I took outside. And especially as you see my front courtyard that is walled and bricked, and a water fountain and portal and water barrels. I would have to bulldoze all of this out to undo this. In the back where you see the fox, I didn't have a picture of the back deck, but I had the fox, I remembered, and there's a little bit of the deck, and then we'll see something in an appraisal coming up. These pictures. For the interior, in 2020, I did a refi to lower the rate, and in the 2020 appraisal that I forwarded to you, that you cannot undo from the 2020 appraisal, you see the beautiful home inside, the iron stairs, the stacked stone, the kitchen, the living room, all at the same floor plan, all at the same footprint. The main house, the structure, and my house all have had the same footprint, with the modification of the kitchen going to downstairs and maybe the dining room becoming a bedroom over in the main house. It's been always the same footprint. And when I invited Jose to come see the house to show, I said, I cannot undo this. He said, hey, that studio, which I call the guest casita, that needs to be a studio. Take out the kitchen, which I inherited, which was a little tiny kitchen sink. So that's out. I did that because that's what he said we have to do. This is a beautiful property with hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in it. If a variance is not granted in letter F, almost $200,000 in upgrades for just the property that I'm talking about here, it would be diminished, and maybe another $175,000 to $100,000, and more I think about it, it may be more, to remove and return it to a two-car garage. More financial outlay to undo it and return it to a two-car garage as I bought it. But then in G, if a variance is not granted and I have to return it to a two-car garage, I'm going to have two-car garages. One that is attached to, that I lived in for 10 years, that was not a two-car garage, it was a one-bedroom home. And the two-car garage I had permitted in 2014. H, reversing the home by not allowing a variance would decrease the property value maybe 50%. It would also affect the neighborhood comps. I added value to the neighborhood by taking a very poorly cared, distressed home, which was once a beautiful home owned by a landscaper the decade before. This distressed home in 2013, and I enhanced the valuation to the neighborhood with these notable improvements. F, my assets would be wiped out by undoing Mescalero if a variance was not allowed. My retirement plan to use the vacation rental income for retirement income and the home that I live in are gone. I've retired 2 years ago with no pension. This was my pension. 3, the other question I have to answer is so that the spirit of the SLDC is observed and substantial justice is done. Not understanding what SLDC was back in March when I did my first answer to this, please disregard that entire answer when I totally did not understand. I do now. And 3A, maintaining the spirit of the SLDC, you see that water conservancy, we've talked about the cistern. I don't tap into the well. I don't want to. It would only be shooting myself in the foot to do that. I've shown and proven we have the 2 water barrels, the cistern that I've always done voluntarily. I wasn't told to do that. I did that. And in high season, I've given you the averages that the home averages 2.57 people per night, less than a neighborhood family of 3 from this home. That's not unreasonable. B, there's been no violation of Mescalero Road covenants. C, the home is monitored year-round by the housekeeper, handyman, landscaper, and myself. D, the septic. In 2023, I contacted the septic guy and asked him to have the septic permit amended properly, where in 2023, I asked the State of New Mexico Environment Division approved and amended the septic 3 bedrooms because you truly have 1 bedroom in the main house, that's a vacation rental, 1 bedroom in the accessory structure combined as 1 dwelling, and it's 1 vacation rental. They're not separated and rented out as 2. They never have been. They're 1. And the 3rd bedroom is mine. And from the very beginning, when I bought this home, there's been 1 septic going from the main house, 1 from the studio, which is called the accessory structure, and one from my home. 3 separate septic lines going to this septic. And thank you, State of New Mexico Environment Division, who approved and grandfathered it because the size of the tank was adequate for a 3-bedroom home. There were no leach field issues. There was no, I learned all these new words that I never had to deal with as a lender. I dealt with approving home loans and finding clients and handling income and assets and debt to income ratios and finding clients and marketing. I didn't handle inspections and permits and septic and all those things. That wasn't what I did. So, I'm sorry I got off track. Septic. So there is no change to the septic and its adequate leach field and runoff per New Mexico regulations and runoff. E, approximately 150 juniper and pinon trees were removed so that those concerned about forestry and fire safety, that's been done. F, little road usage, average 1.04 per car per night in high season. This average would be even much lower if you averaged out the entire year. And G, the owner, me, recognized by the Mescalero Road Fund treasurer, as I wish everyone was easiest to deal with as you. I admit maybe I didn't do a good job of 10 years of living there, informing and making neighbors and friends and all like that. I didn't because I'm a workaholic. I worked 80 hours a week. I was lending. I was doing open houses. I was on the board of directors for Kitchen Angels, and the last document I enclosed was from my good friend Carmen McCumbee, where we served on the board of directors at Kitchen Angels. I co-produced the Bernadette Peters event at the Opera. Personally, we funded 3 home builds for Habitat for Humanity for $100 for every loan that we closed in the last 15 years. That's where my time has been. And when I go home to be quiet. And I just don't socialize at home. I socialize in town. So I could have done a better job, I guess, telling everybody, here's the house, but they didn't know, and they've speculated, and all this gossip got circulated that's not true. So I hope I've done a good job of providing for you a better, clearer position of this mystery home that's caused a lot of scuttlebutt here. I'd like to conclude going back to my cover sheet that I gave you. My investment in 35 Mescalero Trail brought a poor, distressed, uncared for home in 2013 to a beautiful, quiet home, luxury home today, adding value to the community. It's been an investment with love to this property and an investment in my community and for my life, for my retirement. A vote to allow this variance would allow me to maintain a home, a quiet existence, a life that I have been saving for retirement, and to be part of this community that I so dearly loved for 23 years. Without the approval of this request would result in a devaluation of the property values in the neighborhood, as the comps would be different, as well as my luxury home value would diminish almost 50%, as well as severely negatively impacting my life. The existing Mescalero 1984 covenants does not place a cap on how many dwellings and structures may be on your property, and as long as it's not commercial, and it's not commercial. The State of New Mexico Appellate Court ruled that STVRs are not commercial attached. I've attached and also shown to you. I thank you for your time and consideration, and especially your understanding and your patience for me to explain this very difficult project to hopefully give you clarity, and especially show and prove that this 2-story was a 1-bedroom home that I bought in 2013.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Does the commission have any questions of Mr. Phillips?
I've got a question.
JJ.
Mr. Phillips, you mentioned you had EID approval for 3 bedrooms. Do you have a copy of that?
Say again, what?
You mentioned you had EID approval for 3 bedrooms on your property.
I do. I have a box of files that I'll pull out the 2023.
Do you happen to know what size the septic tank is?
I think it was 1,000. I'm not an expert, but I'll pull it. But it has been approved as a 3-bedroom. And I have the file, and I'll be glad to, if you want me to, after the questions, and I'll come back.
Well, no.
I do have the file with me.
That I don't need, but I just wanted to know if you had a copy of that, so you can present it later.
I've also given it to you. Jose's team.
The other question I have, do you have a well permit, a registered well on
Yes,
that
sir.
property?
Yes, sir, and I had the well information when I completed the ATF. I pulled out all that information about the well, the water, et cetera, and it was all part of my ATF application and for the business development that if, from the hearing officer said, if you do approve, I have to do an ATF. I've already did that. They had me do that back in March. But that was included in there, the permit number, all of that.
The other thing, the other
Septic permit, a
question,
well permit, well water, all of that.
the other concern I had is that, you know, when the realtor showed you the property, I think that they overlooked some of the things that they should have been able to disclose to you. And it seems a matter that we've had cases like this before where the realtor is making just a nice sale and stuff, and they tell the buyer that, you know, this is legal and this is can do, and then all of a sudden, the buyer, like you, end up with finding that things were not as they were disclosed to you.
It has been a nightmare.
Yes.
This last 7 months, I've gained 40 or 50 pounds, and it's been the most stress I've ever had. And to add to it, today my mother-in-law passed away, our funeral. I didn't attend it because I had to be here.
I'm sorry to hear
In
that.
Savannah.
That's all I have.
I've had enough of this.
Thank you, JJ.
It is very stressful to add on to your question. I'm sorry for that. Just
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the applicant? Ready?
You had mentioned, just lost my train of thought. Well, one thing, are you aware of any other short-term rentals in the area? You said that the realtor told you that short-term rentals or rentals in that area were appropriate.
they did in 2013. And when I bought the home, I knew there were 2 short-term vacation rentals down the street. One is at 2 Mescalero Ridge. Today, they use it as a long-term property, not a short-term rental. I personally handled a loan for someone on Apache Ridge who stayed at my home as a guest, who loved the home dearly, and when she retired, she did the same thing that I did on Apache Ridge. That was 4 years ago, pre-COVID, and what it is today, I don't know, but that was also on Apache Ridge. But I was aware of at least 2 on my street in 2013. I don't socialize, I don't know, but as my realtor today, 2 weeks ago, writes as well, that they are used out there, that they do exist, yes. And they're not illegal.
Right.
Yeah. And the covenants do not outlaw it. I abided by the rules to make sure the last thing I wanted to do is, I'm not going to buy a house where my goal is to live in the guest house and rent out the main house, so that's my income. So that I digged in very deeply in 2013 before I bought the house.
And it doesn't really matter, and this is the second time this has come across, but why do the neighbors think that you don't live on the property?
That's a great question. Now, for this year, I have not been there much. I have a 97-year-old deaf mother. I am her only child. She's been to the hospital twice with UTI emergency visits this winter and spring in Savannah. My lineage is from Savannah. My family's from Savannah. So I've been back and forth to Savannah for that, helping her as her caretaker and power of attorney, and sign language interpreting for her. Also, I retired 2 years ago. So about 4 months out of the year, I'm usually traveling. 4 months of the year, I may be checking on Savannah and other places, and I would say 6 months I'm here, 3 months traveling and 3 months over in Savannah. But this year, I parked I parked at the front of the house, so if they haven't seen my car, you would have found it at the Santa Fe airport where you could park for free long term. And when I come back after 3 months, I turn and pray that the battery's working, and it is. So maybe that's why they didn't think I was there.
Okay, thank you.
But the only ones that I have really gotten to know were guests that stayed in my home that loved it, and their family, Aaron Thornburg, they bought a home further down Mescalero. I have a good, wonderful relationship with them, but I just never have really socialized, and that's never been my thing at the neighborhood. I have my friends elsewhere.
Got it.
Yeah. I don't want to get in people's business, and I don't want them in mine. My home is my solitude. I guess that's all I could think of is why.
Okay, thank you.
And if anything, that tells you there aren't many cars in that driveway, and they're not abusing the roads, and they're not abusing the water because there's not much traffic there. And they even thought I wasn't there.
Okay, let's continue here. Any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Where am I at now?
Public hearing.
Idea. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. I'm going to open it up. How many people want to speak out there? Just one? Two? Two? Okay. Please come forward. Anybody that wants to speak for or against this project, please come forward.
I do. Sandra Harding, 2 Lone Pine Ridge, Santa Fe, 87505. Sandra Harding. At the hearing on July 13th, 2023, residents who objected to this variance proposal cited 2 major concerns: the condition of the road and the lack of abundant water. Apache Ridge Road, which is a private road, is maintained by those who choose to pay yearly dues collected by the Apache Ridge Road Association. The water situation is very fragile in our area, with wells either going dry or being significantly diminished because of continued hyper-development. Having an Airbnb on the property at 35 Mescalero Trail, which is accessed through Apache Ridge Road, places added stress on this infrastructure. These conditions are not going to improve as more and more people flood into our area and develop the remaining available acreage. I've lived on Apache Ridge Road for 38 years. My children were born in Santa Fe and grew up on Apache Ridge Road, which my kids affectionately call the Ridge. It distresses me when they tell me that some of their friends and classmates, many of whom they have known since kindergarten, are leaving Santa Fe because they simply cannot afford housing costs anymore. We are at a crossroads in Santa Fe. At this point, we as longtime residents of the Santa Fe community need to think about what we want for our future. It is in our best interest to extend opportunities to young people and locals to live, work, and thrive in our unique multicultural community. They are the future. If this particular variance is approved, it will set a precedent for applications for those who apply for variances in the future. This will add more headaches to the residents of our community on Apache Ridge Road, as well as the county commissioners and the county planning commission. I urge you to deny the approval of this variance. And I also want to make a couple more points. I believe it's the county and not the Mescalero Trail covenants that decide 1 dwelling per 10 acres. Am I correct?
Let Steph answer that. Go ahead.
Okay, and Mr. Phillips has lived on our road for 10 years. And in the first quarter mile of our road, there's a sign that says, "Please pay your road dues." I don't know how he missed that, but we all see it as we approach the road, or as we drive up the road. And he also noted that Nanette Farelli, who withdrew her protest, She was the only one who misinterpreted that sign. And hopefully everyone here has a copy of the protests written by the Apache Ridge Road residents stating our objections. So Ms. Farrelly and one other person withdrew their objections. The rest of us did not. So we stand by our decisions. All I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Please come forward, sir.
I do. William Woods, 43 Mescalero Trail. I just have our copy of our covenants for Mescalero Trail that clearly states that no lot shall be used for various, let's see, I'll just read it to you if it's okay. No lot shall be used for any purpose other than residential use. No structure shall be erected, altered, placed, or permitted to remain on any lot other than a single family dwelling. And that basically is my contention, is that what he's doing there is not a single family dwelling. It's, you know, and it also says in here that no commercial activities should occur on our road. And I'm finding that personally, I feel that that is a commercial activity from living there 40 years. I was an original resident. I named Mescalero Trail. At one time, I did see 16 cars at some sort of convention he had going there. So some of the things he's saying are not quite true. I just, other than that, I think everything else is probably, you know, okay with what he's saying. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna, and do we have anybody on the online?
Mr. Chair, no, there's no one on WebEx that wants to testify. And if I may, just to clarify, I found the septic permit, and it is 1,000 gallons, just to answer Commissioner Gonzalez's question.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Does the commission have any comments, motions? Eric?
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question of staff?
Yes.
Jose or Roger, help me understand. So the structures that were there, other than the improvements that the current owner put in, the structures were there prior to the approval of the Sustainable Land Development Code. Is that correct? 2013, 2014, seems to me prior to 2017. Penny, if
Mr. Chair, Planning Commission members, yes, before the Sustainable Land Development Code, but after the Land Development Code from 1981 came into effect. So we still did have a code.
So the requirements that were in place when the property was sold were the requirements of the 86 or whatever it was, Land Development Code?
It was a 1996 version.
96 Land Development Code. And so what I'm struggling here is, this is not a development case. This is a fix all the problems of the past case, in my view. And so I'm trying to understand the legal framework to apply to this, because all the staff report describes the SLDC, in chapter this of the SLDC, this is what happens now. And so that's where I'm struggling. I'm trying to understand, realtor is going to say what a realtor is going to say, And, you know, I imagine that you, in growth management, you have this all the time where, oh yeah, it's all good. Oh yeah, build your dream home here. It's all good, even though it's on a pointy ridge and certain conditions apply. And then you have to clean up that mess.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that's correct. So back in 2013, only one dwelling would have been permitted here, and one dwelling was permitted here. But between that point and when Mr. Phillips purchased the property, the previous owners converted an accessory structure into a dwelling and a two-car garage with storage on top into an apartment above. And so that's the situation that he finds himself in now. We didn't know that that was the situation until he came in for a short-term rental permit.
Right.
And the board has not put a limit on the number of short-term rentals in any community. They're going to review the statistics in the next couple of months, and then they will make a decision as to whether or not they will. So really, the fact that he has a short-term rental is not an issue today. He has removed the kitchen from one of the structures, made it an accessory structure that is rented with the primary home, that was a permitted home, as one short-term rental. But what he's now asking is for the other home to become legal. So when he came in, we said, well, you would need to get an after-the-fact permit to convert this into a dwelling unit now. It doesn't meet code. If it was single-story and smaller, it would now be able to be permitted as an accessory dwelling. But it's two-story and it's slightly larger, so it can't be. So he's in a situation where he didn't create the mess, but we now have to resolve it. And the way the commission has agreed that we would resolve this, because when we did short-term rentals, we realized we were going to see people that had illegally converted. The commission went back and revised the short-term rental ordinance to say if people need variances, if they need to get after-the-fact permits, then take them through the system to be able to do that, and we'll issue them temporary licenses in the meantime. So he has his temporary license to operate the short-term rental in a legal structure. But what he's asking for is when he bought this property, it was appraised, and he purchased a piece of property that was priced at a value of 3 homes on that property. In fact, there was only legally 1 home on that property.
Understood.
So he's
so
just
much
asking for the second home.
Thanks so much for the context. That's quite helpful. And so take it, please.
No, I was just going to thank you for the explanation, Penny. Did you have something? Okay, Rhea, please.
Mr. Chair, I have a question, or not a question, but just a comment. I just wanted to remind mainly my fellow commissioners that in February, case number 225220, it was the Miguel Hernandez variance. This was an applicant that was requesting a setback variance for a non-permitted garage that had already been built on the site. And at the time, I felt very sympathetic personally for the applicant, that they had expended, you know, a considerable amount of money, had built a site-built or a stick-built garage onto that site, and they were asking for this setback requirement, and that was denied, and certainly at considerable expense to that applicant to remove that structure. So I'm seeing that, you know, there are some similarities with this case. Once again, the applicant not knowing that they had done anything wrong. They have this unpermitted structure that has built on the site and now is asking for this variance request. So I just think with the integrity of this planning commission and the decisions that have been made, we can't be making decisions that apply to one applicant and then have another applicant come in and then grant, this variance request under similar circumstances. And, you know, as the hearing officer had already recommended that the denial of the request, that the request be denied for the additional dwellings, I also want to point that out. So just comments for, the commissioners to consider and to remember, what happened back in February. So thank you.
Thank you for the reminder, Rhea. Okay, what's the pleasure of the commission? We've closed the public hearing already, so we're going to make our judgment. No, you had your time, so sir, we're going to close it. Thank you. Okay, anybody yet?
Mr.
JJ.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion on a case number 235090, the Francis Phillips variance. I recommend that we go with the hearing officer's recommendation and staff recommendation to deny this variance.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second on it. All in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
So we have two that opposed. Can we get a roll call?
I also agree that we deny the variance.
I move to deny.
No.
Deny. Okay, thank you. I believe this can be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners, correct? Okay, so that's the next option for the applicant, if needed. Okay, let's continue with this meeting. Thank you all for attending. Petitions from the floor. Okay, communications from the commission members. Jose, I got one. Back to Las Campanas again. On that cell tower. Right now, it's 3 blocks sitting on top of each other. That's what it looks like. Are they still planning on working to make it look like a? I think when we agreed to it, it was going to look like a bell tower.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. It's supposed to look exactly like a pretty good-sized bell tower.
Do you know if it's been activated?
I'm sorry?
Do you know if the tower's been activated? It seems like my cell phone is better out there now, so I believe it's been activated. But it's just not built the way we approved it.
Mr. Chair, certainly we could go out there and verify if it's active, or if they finished it according to plans also.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Let's see, communications from the attorney.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Matters from land use staff.
Mr. Chair, nothing to add also.
Thank you, Jose. Okay. Thank you, Penny, for getting up and answering some questions for us as well. Okay, next regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting is September 21st, 2023. And can I get a motion for adjournment? Do we got a second?
A second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're done. Thank you all for attending.